What's up, my friends? Hey, it is Ryan, and this is another episode of the Studio Sherpas. Why are you shaking your head, man? You're my guest. You're supposed to be, half excited, like up and down now, not shaking your head like, here we go.
Man, every time I listen to your podcast, it's like getting punched in the face with energy. It's a bit much. But that's who you are.
Oh, man. I just had a handful of peanut M&Ms, which, here's the amazing thing. Wesley Dean, props. This guy, I think I mentioned peanut M&Ms on the show a while ago, and what showed up on my box today, but a huge thing, it was probably like 7 pounds of peanut M&Ms. So I think I'm on a sugar high right now. Ladies and gentlemen, with us today on this episode of the show is Jesse Bone. Jesse Bone has started his own charter air company. No, just kidding. A side joke. But he is the partner and producer at Filter Studios Incorporated, all the way in, I don't know, Banff. You're not in Banff. Where you at? You're in Canada.
Yeah, we're on Vancouver Island in BC.
Okay, Vancouver Island. VCA? No, what's VCA? What is that? Is that the airport? No.
Do your research, Ryan. No, Banff is very much wrong. That's the wrong province. Banff is Alberta.
Alberta, yeah.
Yes. And I know you were there with your documentary, so that's all that matters to you. No, we're in a place called British Columbia. We're on the west coast of Canada. More specifically, we are on Vancouver Island, which is just off the coast of Vancouver. We're right in the middle of the island in a little town called Nanaimo.
Say that 3 times fast.
I did a lot at the conference that we went to. I had to go through that explanation with every single person.
Oh, that's awesome. Jesse's one of these guys who we did get to meet at the Onward Summit. We knew each other, prior to that. But he's one of these guys who I just felt like he just feels like an old friend. So like the jokes between him and I, it might sound like we've been friends for a super long time, but I think we're just extra comfortable with each other and kind of give each other a hard time. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think if I'm not poking or prodding, then you should be worried.
Okay, perfect.
If I'm poking and prodding, that means that you're in the circle.
Oh man, I love it. Circle of trust. That's really good. Well, Jesse, one of my favorite, I think I've shared this on the show, actually. One of my favorite moments from the Onward Summit was when we were talking about our niches. Niche. He's shaking.
It's not niche. It's not spelt that way. Do we have to go over this again, Ryan?
You son of a biche. I don't know if that even
just change the spelling and I'm totally fine. Change it.
So somebody was asking, I was in a little side conversation, and somebody was asking Jesse what he did, and explain just when people come to you and say like, hey, what do you do? Like, what do you focus on? What do you do for work?
What do we do? Oh, geez, that's a great question. It's interesting because a little backstory on our production company. It's me and my business partner, Tash. We've been in business for, I think we're on year number 8 now.
Is it Tish or Tash? Sorry.
You can bring that up with him. And about 3 years ago-ish, we decided to, about 3 years ago, we decided to kind of hone in on kind of a purpose-driven business. So doing stuff that we're connected to physically, emotionally, just kind of what we're interested in. And being the creative type, if we're connected to it, if we're, more invested in it, the better product's going to come from it, the better creativity. So we decided, it was an easy decision, but we decided let's try to align those things. So we really focused and honed in on the outdoor industry. We hunt, we fish, we hike, we do everything outside, and living in this area of the world, that's predominantly what the lifestyle is built around. Living on an island out of the metropolis of Vancouver is because that's a priority in our life. Being in this industry, we should be in Vancouver, or we should be in a bigger metropolis, but lifestyle, those choices of how important that is to us is why we're here, and raising a family here in a smaller town, all that business. So But what's interesting about our story, I mean, come on, our whole story is interesting. Well, dunk.
Did
I
you
heard that?
Shoot. I wasn't sure if that's only on my ears. Okay. Anyway.
I was finding good flow too. It was starting to flow.
Ding, ding, ding. Let me see if I can do that again. There
Yeah, it's all there. I'm sure it's not in the recording. You should be fine. What was I doing? What was I saying?
You're saying your story.
So, what it was interesting. What kicked us off, or what inspired us to take that direction, or that turn from, just generally doing everything that kind of came on our plate, to being more intentional with it. One of the light pushes, and it all comes, I'll blame it on Patrick and Amina from Still Motion. Initially they had, I think one of their first forays in like educating filmmakers was the No Tour.
Oh yeah. Wow. Was that the one they had the book?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember
the book, a little CD and
that was
drive.
Sweet.
That was fantastic. And it was the first iteration of the kind of industry that they have and you have, begun to build, is this resource for filmmakers. And I mean, there's been stuff out there, but let's be honest. I mean, we can be honest, Ryan. It was the first one that we connected with, I guess, is the emotional way to do it. Now don't start crying. But we
so well, like, don't just stop.
So anyways, we did the No Tour, and the whole concept did the No Tour. We attended the No education seminar thing when they came to Vancouver. And the whole idea of being intentional. There's a purpose behind, your camera movements. There's a purpose behind your editing, your music. I mean, before it was just taste and like, oh, what do you want? Do you want something kind of energy or that, or, this is what we like. I don't know. What do you want? And so the whole purpose of idea of being intentional from start to finish. And then you have something that's intentional throughout, and reminding people that this is intentional, and that gives confidence. And so anyways, that was a big shift in our kind of filmmaking, I guess, and the way that not only filmmaking, but the way we do business as well, from how we approach building relationships and how we do all of that. So carry on with our business, and we're trying to be more intentional. And then about 4 years ago, we had a client come to us, client that was, we've done music videos before, and they're pretty receptive. And they said, hey, we have investment, we have funding, we want to do our first feature length, and we want you to do it. And we said, yeah, obviously, that sounds great. And then I think it was right around the same time that Still Motion launched the Muse.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had freshly gone through and done the course and learning more and being educated on character-driven stories and the be-all and end-all of stories, and good quality stories of conflict. And so we brought this client on board and said, hey, we want to do this approach. And they were like, yeah, that sounds great. We've got investors. Let's go. So then Tash and I went, oh, we've got this big thing on our plate that we have no experience with. So randomly, I just sent Patrick an email. I said, hey, do you guys do any consultation or any help? We just got like our first feature length and we don't know what to do. And I was open with the client. I said, this is new. We're going to go, we're going to bring these people on board as consultants to help us and to help you and to help this documentary be successful. And Patrick, and this was just my idea. And Patrick sent me an email back, which was so random. He says, actually, we've been thinking about doing this consultation for filmmakers. So how about you guys be the beta and come down to Portland and we'll go through it and we'll do the next steps. And Tash and I just I jumped out of the seat. Like
Yeah.
when I got that email, it was crazy. The Patrick Murnau.
Right.
And your face is frozen right now. I should take a screen cap.
Oh, no, you're frozen.
It's frozen with a big smile.
Can you hear me? Can you at least?
There we go.
No, that was weird.
You're back. It was frozen like this.
I could hear you. You weren't moving either.
Okay. If that happens again, I'll just power through and assume that it's still recording. So anyways, yeah, we got the email back from Patrick, and I was pretty stoked that he was receptive to the idea. One, because we really wanted to do the documentary, and two, just working with them was very exciting. So we get this whole setup and plan to go down and visit with Patrick and his team down in Portland. I've got family actually down in Portland. My dad's actually originally from there, so it was fairly straightforward. And I've got friends, so we could go down and just crash with them and just spend time with Patrick and Amina and their team that they have at Still Motion. And we go down there. We sit down on the couch in their cool space. I think you've been there. Is that where you recorded the original?
Yeah. Yep.
That's what I thought. And so we went there, sat down on the couch, and Patrick, being Patrick, says, "Okay, let's first see if this project's in line with you guys." And we're like, what? This is a feature length.
We said
his budget.
Yeah, that's.
We said yes.
What else do you need?
And so it was that was the impetus to this like storm of like pivoting and change. And it was a good storm.
Yeah.
So then we spent like, Tash and I stayed up all night because then we wanted to bring in line of, okay, who are we? Who are we as filmmakers? And Patrick was like, what does your website say about you? Like who? So he said, we went through a bit of a consult, and he said, okay, who are you? What do you do? I was like, well, we try to do, a very calculated and very, in-depth approach to things. He's like, okay, how does your marketing look? I was like, it's not in-depth. It's not calculated. It's just, I don't know. So he's like, those kind of consultations really helped us be like, whoa, like, what are we doing? I remember he said, okay, well, what do you want to do when you're 50 and you want to put the camera down or you want to put the business down? What do you want your work to say? And I mean, up to that point, we'd been creating stuff that was just like whatever the client wants, not with any depth underneath that. So he kind of, I'm sure he knew, because I'm sure he knew how much he rattled us. And I know Patrick, and I know he did that intentionally. Yeah. Patrick. So, yeah. And it's all in a good way. Right. But it's just like, the depth that guy goes into, it just threw us off guard. So anyways, we had an assignment to get done by the next morning, and Tash and I pretty much stayed up all night, working on who we are and this vision, so that we could come to them with okay, this is who we think we are. And so it helped us a little bit, but it really just like ruptured all of the like memory paths and like way we do things. So it's like, oh no, we shouldn't do it that way, or maybe we need to do it this way. So anyways, it came down to it that unfortunately the project didn't run through. The client and their investors didn't want to go into the depth that we wanted to, the level of understanding. We did pre-interviews, and we tried to find our main character to go through this journey and see all these things. And but unfortunately, the client was really great. Like we didn't lose any money. They paid for all of our time. Yeah. It was very clear about billing, like all of our pre-production, all this research is all billable, and they were great. But they just said it's not the direction that they want. And unfortunately, I think 3 years later, they're still working on it, and they've taken an approach of just go out to we've been watching. I'm not gonna lie, we've been watching what's going on, and they're basically doing what we advise not to do, of just go to a different country, shoot some scenes, and then come back. And they've gone all around the world. Yeah. But it's actually funny. A story editor that we work with, who's probably my next hire, which is what I'm sure we'll get to, soon enough, but he got a contact from this client through another referral that says, hey, we need a story director to come on and gather all this material and turn it into a story. So it's just like affirmation down the line, which is nice. But anyways, that kind of shook up. And so that's why we decided to pivot into, okay, if we want to do this work, let's enjoy it, or let's like have some fulfillment from it. So all that to say, we're now in a spot where we're outdoor, the outdoor space focused, and we're trying to do projects that have some kind of cause or purpose behind them. Mm-hmm. And by default, where we are and what we're close to is there's lots of conservation issues, there's lots of wildlife issues, which kind of go hand in hand. Wildlife conservation, the ocean issues. I mean, we're on the front lines of the fish farm issues, salmon issues, all those kinds of things. And so with all of our work and all of our relationships that we do, we're being intentional and meeting people in those spaces and building those relationships. And then that's turning into projects in that. So thankfully, 3 years in, we're right in the thick of it. We've got really good clients, and we've got really good, meaningful work, which it's tough because when you get that meaningful work and, maybe if it's skirting on out of scope stuff because it means so much to you, then you're more willing to go out of scope, I guess. Mm-hmm. We have corporate clients as well. And if it goes out of scope, it's all understood that that's what you pay for, but right. There's just more emotion and more relation involved with stuff that you care about.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, if you care about it, it's kind of like if that's the kind of work that you're doing, the chances of you spending more time and more care on a project and investing your own, like, well, I'm supposed to leave at 5 today, but I just really I want to nail this. That's the difference between doing work that you care about versus just, doing work that you care for the client, but at the end of the day, they don't care nearly as much as you do. And so it's like, well, give them what they want. And since we're only getting paid by the hour, I'm just going to ship it off. But as soon as you pair your, passion and that's all in alignment with what you're actually working on, it's just really easy to put in what's actually required to make it great. Right.
Right. And it's not something like we've been in business for a while now, Tash and I, as we both have families, we both have kids. His kids are a little bit older than mine, so he's got more freedom in these last few years. But we've been doing it a long time. We started this when my daughter was born, and so that balance and that, like, do I stay later or whatever? I mean, we've grown and I feel like we're in a really mature space. Yeah. And not only the balance of the decisions that I make, but also my family knows too, right? That if I say, I can't come home until 6 or 7, my wife knows. She's like, okay, that's he knows the gravity of that ask, and she understands that, which is good. A long, hard road to navigate to come to that spot, which I'm sure you and many people that listen to this know that road. So it's good to be there, but I mean, the same time, I want to be home with my kids. It's not that I don't want to, right?
Yeah, that was the struggle. Like, I love how you like position that, like the gravity of that. It's the same with my wife. Like, if ever at this point, today, 15 years in, if I do say, hey babe, I'm gonna have to stay late at work tonight, it's like, that is such an infrequent ask. She knows that it's like, yeah, like whatever. Last time I did this was probably a month, maybe 2 months ago. And she brought me dinner. Like, she brought the kids up and a little 15-minute distraction for me, which was awesome. And she brought dinner. But early on, there was like, it was like, my office was in the house. And so I was like, well, shoot, I could actually go upstairs and start compressing this video. Oh, shoot, I could actually start burning a DVD. Oh, shoot, I could probably just pop, so I'm like, I don't know, she wants to watch a show at the end of the day. And I'm just kind of like, I'm not present with her. Right. And I realized pretty early on, because she was so great at like not letting that build up inside of her and, grow resentment, like she would just say like, dude, like seriously, come on, like, are we hanging out or not? Just tell me one thing or the other. And so that happened enough times for me to realize like, oh, okay, I need to be like all in or not. And it was such a great move when I did move out of the house into a studio or into an office. Not like she didn't kick me out. Sort of, she kicked the business out of the house, which was great.
Yeah.
Because the way that I was wired, I'm like, man, if I could just maximize my time and just, I could be doing 4 things at once. And my wife the whole time was like, I just want you to spend time with me. And you are not present. You're not here. So I feel like so many of us can fall in that trap of just thinking like, well, it's just one more thing. Like, let me, I'll be more efficient. I'll be able to make more money. I'll be able to, get on top of stuff for tomorrow if I can do the stuff today. And it's like, we need to, if we don't have healthy marriages, our businesses are going to fail. Like that is a 99.99% chance. That's not a scientific fact or anything, but I just think it's a good assumption. Agree to disagree?
No, I completely agree. There's a couple of things that came to mind that are great from that is if my wife had a nickel for every time I said, this will be worth it. I'm going to give us a raise. This will be it. Like she would be a billionaire and she would be very happy. Not that she cares all about money.
No, but
not painting the proper picture of my wife.
Right. Worry. Your big mouth that you're,
yeah.
I got you.
Insert foot.
Yes.
So like a happy marriage is, to me, how are we here, Ryan? But a happy marriage to me, means a happy, working relationship, but it's deeper than that. It means a happy life.
Yeah.
It means a balanced life. We talk about work-life balance all the time, but I think they're connected. And I think now everybody's saying there's no work-life balance. Everything's connected now. But within that, like 3 years ago shift, there was a lot of shifts, and not only with the business, but personally, I used to be like, that's why I haven't sent you a headshot yet because we haven't updated them, but I used to be 65 pounds heavier. So we really like took a big, there were a couple things like do stuff that matters.
Yep.
But also take care of yourself. And I think I remember it from, maybe it was from your original Sherpas thing. Maybe Matt talked about that, about putting your, so I don't know I'm not articulating this very well, but what I'm saying is that you do better quality work if you've got a healthy mind, body, and soul. So the importance of having a healthy body is correlated to having healthy work, is correlated to having a healthy work-life balance and healthy relationships all along the line. So, we have a big emphasis here with what we do with our business of like, don't be afraid to schedule 2 hours in the middle of the day if you feel like you need to go out for a run or you need to go do something like that. I mean, in consideration of where project's at or whatever, but that is a very, very high, that's very high on our priority of importance to what we do. And so, yeah, I think that's just very important.
I agree. And the thing that I loved so much as I heard this person ask you this question, and your answer was very short to the point, we work with outdoor brands, I don't remember exactly what you said, but it was like literally one sentence. And I was like, wow, that's like really focused. And at that point in my own business and life, and as I'm looking at Tell Studios and I'm looking at Studio Sherpas, and I'm just trying to figure out like how to balance this, these businesses and to do a great job at both of them. And then, inside of Tell Studios, like who's our ideal client? And then inside of Studio Sherpas, like who is the person that would benefit the most from this show and from our training and all that stuff. And so, the way that my mind is just spread so thin, and to hear you just kind of say like, here's what we do, here's who we help. I was like, that is brilliant. And I want that because I've experienced that in the past of having a really defined, focused niche. And today, back then in this past summer, I was just kind of lost. I'm like, I don't even know what know what to do. I don't know what I'm getting excited about. There's just so many things. So people are afraid to niche down. I've talked about this on the show. This is just something that I know to be true beyond the shadow of a doubt. When you niche down, you can't niche down too far. You can't be too focused on who you serve, who you help. It will serve your business better. You will make more money. You will find more enjoyment. Your marketing material will be easier to create. It will be better when you niche down. Has that been true of what you guys did, how you were able to really call down what it is that you do, who you serve, how you help? Has that been beneficial in all of those ways, less, more, since doing that? Are you still there?
I'm here. Yeah, I mean, 100%. That's true. That's why we do it. That was our motivation. But I think there's a couple things that need to take into context. And it's when I listen to whether it's somebody talk about business or growth or change or all these kind of things, they talk about networking and relationships. Maybe it's just my own stupidity, but not knowing what the realities of that is. Like when we talk about building relationships, we're like, yeah, okay, we'll build relationships. We'll hand out cards or shake hands or blah, blah, blah. But actually, what does that mean, right? Like prioritizing that. And we talk about our pivot and niching down into what is close to us. The gravity of that is it from the decision, it took us about 4 years, like 4 years of this, like, what are we doing? Where are we going? We want to go here. Like 4 years is a really long time. Like so that's why I point to like the gravity of that is that it's easy to say niche down and I'm going to do the work and I'm going to find it. But the realities of that, and we all know I was listening to one of your podcasts this morning and you said dips and undips of business, the peaks and valleys. But I like to call them dips and undips.
Did I say that, or you're just saying that?
No, you did.
I said dips and undips. Man, I'm so smart.
I don't know if you said undips. You definitely said dips. And then
okay, dips, that's fine. But undips, I was like, wow, that's impressive.
But in my head, I was like, dude, say undips. So in the dips and undips of business and how often those are throughout 1 year,
right,
and how many emotions are involved. I mean, it might not seem like it because I'm a rock, but I'm an emotional guy. I would guess that you're an emotional guy. Yeah. So those dips and undips throughout 1 year can destroy you.
Yeah.
Like they really, really can. So times that by 4, just using ours as an example. And then, so not only maintaining a business, but then trying to find a new direction and to find new people. So one of the big things is friends of ours have a small little, they develop apps, small little agency. I think they've got like 10 employees, but they do fairly substantial work. And we've been kind of growing our business at the same time, and so we kind of bounce things off each other. It's really good to bounce off of a different industry and learn from them. And they had some advice along the way because they deal with contracts that are, $200,000 to $800,000. So it's fairly substantial. But one of their mentors told them, don't underestimate the power of seeing people face to face, especially in this digital era where we're just pushing pixels around. Even what we do and what they do, the power of face to face is it's kind of scary, and it's easy to knock it off the list. Like, oh, I'm going to spend $2,000 on flights. There's no way. Like we're in a dip. I can't spend $2,000 to go out and just meet someone where I can just send an email and maybe try and get them on the phone or whatever. So, and they took that as a like, let's do that. Even though we're in a dip, how do we keep referring back to dips? I like this. Even though we're in a dip, we're still going to spend that money, go deeper. And because of this face-to-face, the value of face-to-face. And so we took that into our business as well. And going to not just like, like the hunting world was a big one for us to get into. And there's a lot of content creators. There's a lot of influencers. There's a lot of film production in that industry. So we really took a targeted approach of just becoming, by default, Tash and I both hunt. So that was an easy way to be authentic in that industry, that we understand it. We're new to it, but we're in. So just going and meeting people and joining associations and just going there and not even mentioning film production, not even mentioning business, just going there as a person and connecting to someone as a person. And when those needs come up, or when those opportunities come up, though, by association, your name will come up from a more authentic place. So the in-person, non-salesy, pushy approach has worked really well, because people see that, and with our industry, there's so much trust involved. We always say we want bigger projects, bigger clients. Well, no, I mean, our clients can be the same size, but bigger projects, bigger budgets, all this kind of stuff. But you're not going to get there by just experience and a good portfolio. It's the relationship, and it's that level of trust that they have that you can complete that, and that, they want to join you, because as the projects get even bigger, I think it was Larry's podcast I was listening to this morning, and talked about the documentary approach. And we're leaning more into documentary style, or documentary development and projects. But that is just, that's like a collaboration. That's like, we're joining this together. This is our plan of action. And we're going to go ahead with this. And with documentary, things shift and flow. And you're frozen, but I'm going to keep going, because I'm going to power through.
Yep,
I'm going to make sure that I'm on the right. Oh, I'm on the wrong Wi-Fi.
But you are here.
Okay.
I hear you. I don't think I'm frozen anymore, right? You can hear me.
Yeah. If I switch Wi-Fi, that'll stop the whole thing. So, what was I saying? Oh, just the
you're talking about Larry's podcast.
Talk about Larry. Just the concept of being a bit more of a collaborative partner with a client with these big projects, because you have to be, because there's so much that fluxes and flows. So just speaking to the value of a trustworthy relationship and working together well is very, very important moving forward. And we've seen good results in that. It was the same reason why, or the same foundational thought process of why I came to the event, the summit that you hosted. Because for me, that was, to be honest, was a really heavy lift, just with flights and logistics alone, and timing. But I knew that in-person meeting was important, and we could learn a lot more than just digital interface. And I did, and it was great, and it continues to be good. So just that the value of spending time with people, or meeting them in person, also says a lot too. Like, oh wow, you spent the time to come here and just have coffee with me. You flew across the country to have coffee. That shows the gravity of what you mean to them, or what they mean to you.
I like it. That's it's interesting, because as you're talking about, you guys found this niche, and you for you don't even feel like you're having to sell or bring up what you do. But the problem comes when somebody says, oh, we love marketing, we love making marketing videos, so we're going to go to a marketing conference. And I'm saying this because I've been in this spot. So you go to a marketing conference, and you've got PR companies, you've got a guy from this big company that he's the marketing guy for this big company, and then you've got a hunting organization, and then you've got, and it's like the industries are, so at some point pretty quick, like I need to kind of like say, here's what I do, because there's no common denominator outside of marketing. And it's such a broad, generic, hey, we're here for but if you're at a hunting expo or something like that, the vendors are going to be people that are or maybe it's like an archery expo, right? So then it's even more focused. So the providers there are all selling bows and arrows and all things related. Not all things, but things related. So the conversations that you have, it's like, yes, eventually that's going to come up, and they're going to want to know, like, well, what are you like? Who are you here with, and what are you doing? And it's like, it's just way easier to serve when you are serving your niche, when you're hanging out with your niche. So many of us would get frustrated and feel like, well, like, you know, I'm trying to tell people what I do and nobody cares. And I'm going to these networking events. It's like, okay, you are going to networking events, but like how niche down is this networking event? Because like you said, as soon as you're connected to that niche, sorry, you didn't say it like that. As soon as you're connected to that niche, then I can't believe that's like a theme of so many episodes. I'm sorry for you, my listener. When you are connected, you know, when your heart is really a part of this thing, and you're like, this is who we want to serve, then I lose my train of thought, and I'm like, well, then
that's exactly what I'm saying. Is if I was a passionate archer or bowman,
archist,
if I was very passionate about archery, then I can go to that conference and talk my face off,
right,
and nerd out on everything. And eventually, yes, the conversation is going to be like, oh, where are you from? Oh, and that's why the hunting conferences are really great, because I can go there and just nerd out on hunting.
Totally.
And just talk. And there's a big difference with starting a conversation with someone about, you know, being a nerd about something. So, you know, that says a lot to be like, oh, okay, no, I'm here to like market myself.
Right.
And I'm here to, you know, if you need anything, here's my card. You know, as opposed to like, man, did you hear about this hunt and the sheep that they killed up there and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, oh yeah, well, you care, I care. Okay. Well, and then eventually it's like, okay, what do you do? Or, you know, and
go to dinner and we're hanging out at dinner. And then
that's
like,
right. But
I never even ask you, what do you do? No, that's like what somebody would say. Oh. Jesse's looking at me like, wait, are you serious? You asked me at the beginning. What?
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing. And understanding that it's it's easy to say it's a long game that you're playing, you know, but the reality is that you might go to a conference and not even give out a card and say, well, what was the point of that? You know, what was the point of that? But if you're in it for the long run, and these authentic and real, the word authentic gets overused these days, but just being real with people and coming from a real place, then they'll grow, they'll cultivate.
Yeah.
And I know that's the approach that we took, and that's the approach that's worked really well and enabled us in 3 years to find our niche, to really niche down, and niche into the outdoor space, is finding that to be our niche. But yeah, anyways, that's neither here nor there, but it's called a niche. I'll stop. I promise. I promise.
I'm going to replace niche or niche with Smurf or Smurfy. I'll just do that.
Smurfette.
It's real Smurfy. I'm going to Smurf down and what this is, I love this. I mean, if you're struggling in your business and you're like, I'm not working with the client. I'm not working with the clients that I want. I'm annoyed. I'm frustrated. I'm banging my head against the wall. This isn't working. This business isn't working. Ryan, you tell me that it can work. You're here to help me grow my business. And then my rebuttal, my response, whatever to you is like, okay, well, who are you serving? Who is your audience? If you say, well, it's like anybody that needs video. Okay. That's part of your problem. Let's what's a different word for, I'm not going to say it, but you know, the Smurfy word. Focus, you know, let's define that a little bit better and keep defining it until it's like, okay, well, I can't define this anymore. That's a great place to start, because then it's like, okay, go ahead. What do you got?
I had a full circle thought.
Please lay it down, man.
Initially, like when you asked what was it that I wanted to talk about, or what I kind of thought, and all I could say was belief. So that's really where it came into. So for the first little while of our business, it was just Tash and I working, and we're two guys getting a job done, and we work really well together, and that's very evident going through the hiring employee process, that we have a very special relationship. It's kind of funny. My wife, whenever I talk about work trips and stuff, I'm like, oh, we're going to da da da. And she's like, what? Oh, yeah, that's awesome. I'm like, no, that's she's. Yeah. So her famous line was, I remember when we used to be no, that would sound it. I messed it up. So she said, her famous line is, I remember when we used to be us. And so, constantly just, so anyways, all that to say that Tash and I work really well together. And as we grow and, kind of separate our roles and elevate our roles, um, uh, um, the big thing where we decided to, niche down, I guess. And I actually had a really good conversation with Doug Darling about this. And it was just like a year or two ago when we started to like, okay, we're in our industry, we're getting really good jobs, but we can't keep up. And we need to hire people. We've hired like 6 contract editors that just didn't quite hit the mark. Some of them were good, but like you've talked about before, the more effort you put in, it's just like, just now I have to redo this whole project and redo it. And now we're even further behind. And so we eventually said, well, we have to grow. Like we just have to, or else we're not going to be able to keep going in this niche. So the thing I talked about with Doug, I mean, he kind of affirmed me on a bunch of things. And, I mainly just wanted to have affirmation that I wasn't doing anything wrong, and that we're kind of going along the right path. And he talked about, I mean, you just got to believe that the business is going to come. And after 6-7 years at that time, was like, well, if you look back, I mean, yeah, there's dips and undips, but we still like. I still paid my mortgage. We're able to lease camera equipment. So we paid all that stuff off. Like the bills still do get paid. That's stressful along the way. And yes, timing is like my kryptonite. But it's at the end of the day, from a long-term approach, it gets done. So it's like, okay, I'm just going to believe. We're going to go through this. We're going to hire someone. We're going to bring on our first editor, and we're going to believe in this business. We're going to invest in this business financially, as well as emotionally, and just believe that it's going to come. And as soon as we kind of let go of all of that, like, I don't know if the work's going to come. We have these targets, but I don't know if that's going to happen. And it's like, hey, I have to believe that it's going to happen. And then I also have to be intentional and purposeful, live a purpose-driven life. In business and in life, and it's paid off. But it's like I said, it's sure we're here where we are now and getting the work that we want to do and starting to grow a business, but it's taken a long time. Like to come to here, it's taken a long time, but it takes that belief. Like it actually takes belief. Like, okay, I don't have anything in the pipeline, but I'm going to sink this debt into the business and believe that we're going to get it, and believe that I'm going to do all that I can, and believe it's going to happen.
Yeah. Because what's the opposite of that?
You just shrivel up in the corner and don't do anything.
And what you're saying is like, I don't believe we're going to get the job. I don't believe we're going to, and it's like, oh my gosh, like, okay. So in by not even saying or thinking that you believe it, like you are not believing it. Right. So you're just kind of telling yourself in a indirect way that it's not going to happen. So I think that's such a huge, it's a mindset shift. It's not magic. It's not just being like, oh, I believe the clients are going to come, and then they come, you build it, and no, that's not how it works. But it's definitely a huge part in it. You've got to build it. You've got to believe that it's going to work. And then you've got to, figure out like, well, what should I be doing in order to, I can't just set it and forget it. I can't just build a website and hope that people come. I can't just update my profile or post a thing and then think that people are going to flock. No, like there is a plan. I need to be networking. I need to be going to, these things. I need to meet people. I need to serve people. I need to figure out like how can I serve? Those are, it's like that, what is that saying? Be the answer to your own prayer. It's like, you need feet under you, like, or no, it's something else. Like, basically, you can't just like believe something and you are part of the solution, right?
Right. Well, so I would ask you, what do you how would you define belief?
Belief. What does that mean for me? Like if I believe something's going to happen, like whatever that thing is, I'm just moving in that direction. Like it's happened. Like I'm already believing that it's happened or happening. And, I don't know, like whatever the result of that means, I'm sort of moving, believing. I can't use believing. I yell at my kids for using the word in the definition.
Well, I mean, the reason I
Give
go
me
there
a
is
grade real
because
quick. Just how did I do on the answers? Is it like a C minus?
no, it is. I mean, it kind of is what you said, but I mean, if you believe it, it's not just, to me, the way that when I say I believe something, it's not just in my mind. It's how I talk. It's how I walk. It's how I email. It's how I do any fitness routines, how I play sports, how I ride my bike, all these kind of things. Belief is not just like, I believe. A belief is you're going to do everything you can. You're going to call everyone you can. You're going to email everyone you can. You're going to meet everyone you can. You're going to, learn how to use equipment the best you can. All of these things. Belief is not just, I'm going to sit on my butt and believe that the work is going to come in. To me, belief is I'm going to do everything humanly possible to make this happen. So if I believe in my business, that means I'm going to do everything. I'm going to do the book. I'm going to, everything that I can, because it's connected to something deeper than just getting it done.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep. And so here's my spiritual, I'll kind of just go on a thing here. We were part of this group where somebody said, hey, belief, that word actually means doing. So it's acting, it's doing the thing, because you can say, oh, I believe in God, and then, whatever. And it's like, okay, well, if you're not like serving people and loving people, then like you actually don't believe, because that, like, believing actually means it's not just like a thing in your mind that's just like, yeah, I believe it. Yeah, it sounds so nice and that's great. It's like, no. So thank you for clarifying that, because I have a better definition than whatever I said before, and that's it. It's action. It's taking action on whatever that thing is.
There we go.
That's what you're for. You knew it was inside of me. Thank you.
Yeah, because it really is, and that's. Welcome to the Studio Sherpas podcast. Today's episode, we're speaking with the Coral.
I need a little more energy. Can you just turn
No,
a little bit?
I need to bring the energy of this podcast down to like amicable or like digestible level.
Wow.
No, but I think we kind of got our final thoughts on that, but it's the action is really what the belief is. It's that doing things and moving forward. And if you can not only do that a lot or in a efficient manner, but if you can do that with intention and purpose, that's it, right? Like that's it. And that goes back to goals and all these kind of things. So
I love it, man. That's great. Jesse, you brought the heat today, man. I mean, so here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, listen to what happened here. I asked Jesse forever ago to be on the podcast, and my perception, and tell me if I'm wrong, Jesse, life, is busy. You kind of like, I think you overthought maybe what you wanted to talk about. You sent one word of a thing that when I send an email to people like, hey, you're gonna be on the show, like, what's one thing you want to talk about? He wrote the word belief, period. That's all he wrote. So here we are all these months later, and in my mind, the stuff that you talk about, this is great. And this has been in you the whole time. So like nothing like huge I don't think has happened like since the time I asked you to where you're like, yeah, we'll get to it. Great job. It was excellent.
Thanks, man. It was, no, I don't think I overthought it. I think I just wanted to have a little bit of headspace to even like wrap my head around this and just having a meaningful, purpose-driven conversation, an intentional conversation with you, because my brain can go many different places all the time, and I can end up over on an island somewhere and wonder how I got there. So
Your island.
Exactly. See, there's many other islands. There's our island, and there's little Gulf islands all over the place. Wow. We go to lots of islands to escape the island.
Did you hear about when we got stranded on an island? Did you hear that story?
No.
Okay.
Who's we?
My wife and
we your business, or we your
four of our best friends. Yeah, it was amazing.
What time are we at? We got time.
I've already shared it on the show.
Oh,
You got to catch up on your
Well,
episode.
reference for your audience what episode they can listen to it, and I will go back and listen to
I'll
it.
put it in the
as
show notes. It was from the summer. Happened this summer. Happened in like I think August. So it was very shortly thereafter.
Okay, one question.
Yep.
All you have to answer
What do
from
you
it. How long did you spend on the island?
No, that's not a good question to answer. But was it storming? Was there rain and lightning and thunder? And did we have no protection from the outside forces? Did our boat get destroyed? Yes, to all of those questions. Were we cold? Yes. Was my wife freaking out and searching Google on the phone the whole time, scaring everybody into the chances of us dying? Yes, that was all happening. And I don't know, maybe an hour and a half at most.
Have you ever been on a boat in the ocean in 3+ meter seas?
No, thank you.
Okay. Just curious. We're doing a documentary about swordfish. So we spend a lot of time out in the ocean. And so that's why I was curious what your adventure was like and how I could gauge that
It was 2 feet of water, fresh water, no salt, no sharks. This is embarrassing. Andrew, cut this whole thing.
It's interesting because one of our clients is a resort on the West Coast, and they're all about adventure. But when you say adventure, it's interesting to hear that means so many different things to so many people. And adventure could be smelling the salt water, right? Mm-hmm. You've never, ever even been close to the ocean. And so even being there, seeing it or smelling what that air tastes like. I don't know what that air tastes like, bud. But, it could be, eating a crab for the first time, or it could be going 90 miles offshore in search of tuna fish. It could be catching a salmon right off the dock, all these kind of things. So that's where my head was at, was to see where's his adventure. That's all. Not judging, not trying to like measure anything here, Ryan, but just curious.
Jesse, I would love for people to be able to check out your work. Your work is beautiful. That was one of the first things that I think I told you. Your work it's awesome. And where can people find you and connect with you and follow you and all that stuff?
Well, thank you, Ryan. Now I'm blushing. We're on mainly Instagram at Filter Studios with an S on the end. We kind of echo our thoughts on Facebook. As part of I'm sure as most entrepreneurs say, as part of our growth, we're trying to get better at social media. We've been doing this for a long time, but we haven't been doing social media for a long time. So everyone on the show, go follow us, get our Instagram followers way up there.
I love it, man. This seriously was a blast. I think we laughed too much. There's Andrew, our editor, has a lot to edit out. Jeremy, our audio editor, him and his team have a lot to edit out. There's a lot of work to do. This is a great time. But seriously, dude, I appreciate you so much. I love your heart and just the stuff that you shared today. I think it's really relatable, and I'm excited. I really am excited to hear what people think of this episode and some of the crazy stuff that we talked about.
Yeah, and I think I'm an open book too. So if anybody wants to reach out to me, then by all means, reach out.
I do have one last thought.
I
will consider saying niche from here on out.
Okay. Yeah. What's the back and forth? Okay.
Yes, if you start saying any word that ends in out as out instead of out, right? So about or out, you have to say out or about instead of about or boot.
See, this is the misconception about Canadians. Is that the East Coast that talks like this is all of Canada. I very much say out. I don't say oot, because that's like a Norwegian accent.
You said about early in the show, and I wrote it down. I was like, oh, I gotta.
Okay. Well, I apologize if I did, because unfortunately this is all on record. So if I say I didn't, then people can call me out. So I apologize. I will focus on out.
I'm trying so hard to say it the other way.
But
All right.
Oot is like, seems Norwegian to me,
Oot.
not
Wow,
Canadian.
no, I didn't spell it like U-T. What is that? U with the dots. Anyway. Okay, thanks for tuning in. This was amazing. Jesse, I appreciate you. I'm super excited for the work you guys are doing. Thanks for working on your personal life with your wife and your family and in your work life and making those one. That's good. That's a good example for all of us to hear. I'm glad you brought that up and all of the other things. All of the other things today. You're the man.
Thanks, Ryan. It's been a blast.